All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to this, our last online lecture of the semester. This isn't the last week of the semester, that's next week, but there's not going to be an online lecture for that because everything's going to be due, and there's not really any reason to have one then. So, what I want to do today is start out by giving you guys a few reminders. Normally, if we've been meeting on campus, I like to give reminders near the end of the semester in the last few weeks, just so that everybody remembers that things are going to be due soon and that nobody gets overwhelmed or falls behind when the deadlines come up. So, for this week, remember that we're going to be peer reviewing your project number 4, the multimodal remix project, and we're going to be doing that peer review in the discussion board on Blackboard for this week. So what you want to do is to just go. It doesn't have to be a long explanation. It shouldn't take you too long to type it up. Just explain briefly what your multimodal project is going to be, what medium you're working with, whether it's a podcast or a drawing, and what previous assignment you have that ties into that. And so post that in the discussion board, and then also be sure to respond to at least one other person's post and give them your feedback. It doesn't have to be super critical feedback, just give them your thoughts on their project based on what they say. If you think that maybe you have an idea that they could use, feel free to offer that idea. And if you're given an idea, feel free to either take that advice or not. It's more of a conversational exchange. If we'd been meeting in class, again, it would have been taken the place as a sort of conversation. We would have been in small groups and just sort of shared what we were working on with each other. And participating in that discussion board thread this week, the peer review discussion thread, is going to give you the points for this assignment that are equivalent to the rough draft points that you've had from the other assignments. So for the past 3 assignments that you've written, you've gotten 4 points each for the rough drafts that you turned in. Because this is a multimodal remix and there's not really any rough drafts, so to speak, this peer review session is going to serve as the rough draft and the peer review all mixed into one. And so your points for the rough draft portion of this assignment will be coming from that. And also don't forget that there is the multimodal remix assessment memo to type up too. And that's just going to be a short, I think in the description it's 1 page, 1.5 page of what you did, why you did it, how you feel you did, and if there's any things that you want me to look out for when I go to grade it. You can use the assessment memo as an opportunity to tell me what you are really proud of or what you want me to look at when I'm grading. So project 4 again comes in 3 parts. There's the peer review discussion board thread, the project itself, and the written assessment memo. Also, remember that the Learning Hub reflection, which I changed to extra credit, will be due next week as well. You don't have to have been to the Learning Hub because obviously in the middle of the semester, everything got upended and maybe you didn't get the chance to go, or maybe you weren't really comfortable meeting with a tutor online and so you weren't able to do that. But if you had gone to the Learning Hub in the first half of the semester and you already had your reflection typed up, you can submit that through Blackboard. And if you met online with somebody to tutor, if you met with Chris or one of the other Learning Hub tutors, you can submit the reflection on Blackboard for that too. So yeah, I encourage you to take advantage of those extra credit opportunities if you feel that you needed them. And also, remember, as we move into the final 2 weeks of this class and you're working on Project 4, always email me and ask me questions if you have them. A couple people have reached out to me with questions about Project 4, and that's awesome. I really like hearing from you guys since I can't see you anymore. So definitely reach out to me if you have any concerns about Project 4 or anything else. Also, there are end of the semester student evaluations that I'll be emailing to you guys. And if you would please take the time to fill those out, it shouldn't take too long at all, and then resubmit them. I think you just resubmit them back through the link that will be in the email. I'm not super sure about that, but you'll see when I send them out to you this week. I would appreciate getting your feedback on this class. I'm always looking for ways to improve the class, and I do take the student evaluation seriously. So definitely let me know what you liked. Let me know what maybe you think could have been done better, or maybe something that we didn't cover that you thought we were going to get to. I take the course evaluations seriously, so I would really appreciate it if you take a few minutes to submit those once you get them. And I'll be emailing those to you pretty shortly. So let's talk about the multimodal remix. So from what I can gather from people who have reached out to me, people who have emailed, it doesn't surprise me either, because it's always the case with this project in my experience. The hardest part is knowing where to get started, right? It's a really open-ended project. There's a lot of possibilities. I kind of left it up to you guys to decide what you wanted to do, which one of your past assignments you wanted to work with, and that can be overwhelming, which is the trade-off, right? I've said before that I don't like putting arbitrary restrictions on assignments, because I think people write best about what they like, what's interesting to them, and this project is no different. But with that freedom of choice also comes sort of the overwhelming aspect of having to decide what topic you're going to work with. So Project 4, remember that to me it makes sense to think of it this way, and hopefully this would make sense or be helpful to you, but if not, if it just seems more confusing, ignore this. But to me, it helps to visualize Project 4 as another written essay when you're starting out. It is asking of you all the things that our previous assignments that were written essays required. It does have to have a point. It has to have a thesis, and that thesis is either taking the form of an argument of some sort, or if you're doing a more creative route and you're telling a story, that story has to come through clearly. So if it seems a little overwhelming having to work with all these different new mediums, this different technology, I don't know what you're all doing specifically, but think about it in terms of this is another essay. I'm trying to convey a point or a story to my audience, and instead of writing, I'm using this different technology, whatever you decided to work with, to do that. And this ties back really into one of the purposes that I've always thought that this class is trying to achieve. If we go back all the way to the beginning of the semester, I said that the good that could come out of this class for you, for anybody, the goal is to become more effective communicators. And not just in terms of writing, but in terms of speaking and in terms of thinking too. Because all too often we say things without really thinking them through, and maybe we embarrass ourselves in public conversations, things like that. But when we're writing, it allows us to take a pause, take a step back, and to organize our thoughts. We see them laid out. We don't have to kind of keep up with our own mouths while we're talking. Writing allows for us to take a step back and to see those thoughts that you have, those thoughts that you're trying to communicate to other people, become crystallized on paper. But sometimes people can visualize thoughts better through a different medium. Maybe the essay image, paragraph by paragraph, isn't helpful for you when it comes to thinking about what you're trying to say, what point you're trying to get across. Maybe you're more of a visual thinker, or maybe you prefer hearing things. And that's what this multimodal remix project is aiming at. It's allowing you, again, to organize your thoughts, organize your idea, and present it in a way that's different from the standard academic essay. And all of those ways that you have of presenting that project, they come with their own bells and whistles, I guess you could say. If you are going to do a podcast, there are a lot of different ways that you could go about doing it. It could be a really formal sort of NPR type of podcast, or it could be a more relaxed conversational podcast. It could even be, I've had students in the past do like the I can't remember what his name is, but the War of the Worlds radio broadcasts, where it's sort of like a story being told through the radio and there's background noises and music and it's kind of like a dramatic telling. When you're faced with all those options, I would say think about, one, what's practical for you to be able to do. I don't know what software you'll be using to record, in this example, the podcast, but you wouldn't want to rely on too many special sound effects or anything if you don't have access to those. But more importantly, think about what sort of tone you want your project to have. Do you want it to be lighthearted? Do you want it to be, on the other hand, serious? And think about tone when it comes to narrowing down the scope of the different projects that you could work with. If you were going to make one of your past essays into a comic strip, which also students have done in the past, you would want to ask yourself what turning that essay into a comic strip does to the argument. It can be done to where you just say, okay, here's the writing. I'm going to take it all and put it in a comic, and here it is. You can do that, but if it's not really appropriately suited to the comic form, it's not going to make much sense. There should be a reason for why you decided, I want this argument to be turned into a comic. The comic form itself should lend some sort of meaning to the message. And in terms of tone and what sort of feel you could go for with your project, you also want to think about what your intended audience is. So when you write an essay in this class or any college class, the expectations are that maybe your peers are going to read it, and then maybe the professor is going to read it, right? So the essay is very formal. It's very academic. But with this project, you're being asked to imagine an audience outside of the classroom. And what sort of audience do you think that your work would be appealing to? And how would that audience best respond to the different types of mediums you could present? So if you know your imaginary audience, if you visualize them in your mind, you know that they would respond well to a drawing or a painting, that would be a good reason to take your argument and put it in a visual medium. If you know that your audience are, I always use kids as the example because it's a really stark contrast between making something that has a message for kids and making something that has a message for adults. But if your intended audience, your imaginary audience is kids, you would want to present it in a way that's sort of fun, lighthearted, maybe not too many words, maybe more interactive, so maybe a video or a drawing or something like that. So yeah, those are things to consider. The tone of your project and how whatever medium you picked contributes to the tone, and how your imaginary audience is going to respond to that tone. So, I don't think I have too much more to say about Project 4. I think I addressed some of the things that people have emailed me about. They sound really cool. I've talked to a couple of people from the class, and they've ran their ideas by me, and I'm looking forward to them. This is my favorite project of all the projects that we do in English 101. Every semester, somebody turns in something that's just really cool, is a really creative take on one of their past assignments, and they're fun to grade. I look forward to listening to them or watching them or however you submit them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to those. I think for this week in the discussion question thread that's going to be underneath the link to this video, they're going to be more reflective in nature about the class in general. Because obviously something crazy happened this semester and things didn't go quite according to plan, either for myself in regards to this class or, of course, for all of you too. So I am curious to see how you felt about all this and where you thought maybe I could have done something better and how you feel that things went. I hope that throughout the semester, both when we were meeting in class and online, you did have something that you could take away that you feel that was worth your time, worth your energy and your work. And yeah, this was a good class. I enjoyed working with everyone, and hopefully maybe in the future I'll have you again under more normal circumstances. But if not, do keep in touch. I thought this went well, considering everything. And yeah, so that will be it for this lecture. I will be in touch with everybody still through email. If there are any missing assignments or things like that, I'll be reaching out to you. And let me know if you need anything. And that's it. Good luck with finals, not just for this class, but for all your other classes too. I don't know how things are going in terms of those, but hopefully those go all right, and have a great summer and try to relax, try to have fun despite everything. All right, thank you very much.